Hi everyone, it's LisaBug, and we are doing a mini practice on the Pada Bandha today. So what is the Pada Bandha? The word in Sanskrit, Pada, means the foot, and the word Bada, B-A-D-H-A, means lock. So the foot lock is the grounding of our feet down into the earth, creating that connection. So let's come together in a standing mountain pose. And you can stand with your feet tight together or slightly separated, maybe hips distance apart. If you'd like, close your eyes, or if you're feeling a little bit tippy with that, you can keep your eyes softly open and just begin to notice the bottoms of your feet. They are the farthest away from our eyes, so oftentimes we forget about the feet, don't think about it, and they are responsible for taking us along our entire day as we move and walk. So they're so important for us to pay that special attention to the bottoms of the feet. So begin to notice where your feet are connected into your mat, that feel of the mat underneath your feet. And then let's bring the toes up off the floor, spread them apart, maybe wiggle them a little bit, and try to set them back down one at a time from the smallest toe, the next, until you finally have the big toe down on the mat. There's a little bit of space between each toe, as if you had webbed feet. And then notice where the big toe enters the ball of the foot. We call that the ball mound of the big toe. Press that down into the floor. And the ball mound of the small toe, pressing down into the floor as well. So we're equally weighted on both sides of the ball of the foot. Then notice your heel and do the same, pressing down into the earth through the inside of each heel, equally balanced into the outside of each heel. So we have four corners of pressure and rooting down into the earth. Then take your toes and slightly grip the floor. So you're pulling back, gripping with the toes. And notice when you do that, your arches tend to lift away from the floor. So let's keep the arches lifted up, but slightly release that gripping with the toes. This is our Pada Bandha. It is the foundation for all of our standing poses. So as we maintain that foot lock, that rooting into the earth, we'll inhale, sweep the arms out and up, press the palms together, exhale and sit into chair pose, Utkatasana. Now notice, did your Pada Bandha or your foot lock shift away from the heels or away from the balls of the feet? So repress into the ball mound of the big toe, the baby toe, the inside and the outside of the heel. We'll take another breath in, sweep in, and exhale. Arches are lifted. There's energy into your legs. We breathe. So we have approximately 25 bones in the feet and almost as many muscles. I believe 22 or 23 muscles in the feet. So we're keeping all of those muscles active as we're in this standing pose. Balanced onto the feet. Rooted and strong. One more breath. And exhale. Shoulders are back and down. We breathe in and swan dive into forward bend. Take hold of your opposite elbows with your hands in ragdoll pose. And again, you can see your feet here. So this is a great place to notice the feet. If you feel more comfortable with hands on a block or on a chair, you can do that as well. And let's take our toes, lift them away from the floor, and you can even reach to your toes and separate them a little bit and set them back down onto your mat And grip the floor a little bit with your toes to pick your arches up. Press evenly into the ball mound of the big toe, the baby toe, the inside and outside of the heel. Then release that gripping of the toes and soften. Inhale, halfway lift to Ardha Uttanasana, our half forward fold. Rooting into that Pada Bandha. And then we'll fold back down to the earth and step the right foot back on your mat. Ball of the foot places, heel is lifted. Rise up into high crescent lunge. So on our front foot, we're equally weighted into all four corners of the foot. We have our Pada Bandha, even tension into both the right and left sides of the feet, the front and the back. But our back heel is lifted. So we want to press evenly across the ball of the foot into the ball mound of the big toe and the baby toe. One more breath. And exhale, reach down to the mat, step the back foot forward to meet the front foot, and the front foot steps back into our high crescent lunge. Ooh, reaching up. Now square off the pelvis. All four corners of the front foot rooted. And the back foot weight is equally distributed into the ball of the foot. We're breathing, grounded, and rooted. One more breath in. Exhale, reach down to the mat. Step the back foot into your forward bend. And we'll take the front foot again back, that right foot back, turn it out about 45 degrees, rise up to our Warrior One. So in Warrior One, we have our hips squared to the front, Pada Bandha in both feet. Now you might notice on this back foot there's a tendency to roll in to the arch. And I want you to keep that arch lifted by pressing back into the outside edge of the foot. And let's inhale, sweep the arms out and up. Exhale into goalpost arms, lift the heart. Then reach the hands behind the back, interlace the fingers, or maybe even place hands at hips. Come into chest expansion. Very slowly, we'll bow into humble warrior by dropping the left shoulder towards the left knee. The arms can raise above the back body. And this is a great place, again, to have a visual connection with your back foot. So take a look at it. Make sure you're not rolling inwards to your arch, but you've got that arch nicely lifted and you're pressing into the outside blade of the side of the foot. The ball mound of the big toe, the baby toe, the inside and outside of that back heel. Take one more breath here. And as you exhale, pull yourself back up, releasing the hands away from the back body. Stretch and breathe. And reach down to the mat. Step that back foot forward. Forward bend. Front foot steps back with the foot turned out about 45 degrees, rising up to our Warrior One. Square off the hips and stabilize. Open out into our goalpost arms. Feel the Pada Bandha on both feet. Both arches are lifted. A little bit of squeezing into the toes, not too much, but enough to feel them, and they're slightly spread. Bring those hands behind your back, come into chest expansion, roll the shoulders back, lift the arms, and bow into humble warrior. Taking a look at our back foot. Let's notice what we can see with our gaze. Are we rolling inward onto that arch, allowing the Pada Bandha to fail and to collapse? Keep lifting it up, pressing into all four corners. We should feel stable and secure and rooted. One more breath. Exhale, we rise up, the hands separate. Inhale to reach. Exhale, find the mat. Step forward into forward bend. We'll step that right foot way back behind us and then pivot and turn as we rise all the way up, turning both toes forward, our 5-pointed star position. Now hands can just come to hips for now, and maybe you can walk your feet a little bit wider. And those feet are parallel to the sides of your mat. Make sure you're not collapsing inward on your arches. Really press out into the outside edge of the feet. Take the fists and place them upon your sacrum, one on each side of the SI joint, sacroiliac joint. Press into all 4 corners of the feet and allow your heart to rise. Lift it and open up through the chest into our baby back bend. Then begin to hinge forward from the hips, folding into wide leg forward fold. The fingertips can come down to a block or to the floor. And we can take a look at the feet. Let's pick up the toes, wiggle them, spread them apart, set them down one at a time. So there's space between each toe, like a webbed foot. And we can keep descending into that forward bend. Look at your feet, the right and left sides. Make sure your arches are lifting up. You should feel that nice stretch along the outside of the ankle. Feel that pulling up into the outside of the calves. Nice and strong through the outside of the legs. 2 more breaths. And 1 more breath. Breathe it in through the nose. Exhale, nose or mouth. Hands come back to the hips, and with the strength of the posterior chain, pull yourself all the way up. Pivot on the right heel to turn that foot out, reaching into Warrior 2. Now make sure we didn't lose the arch in this left foot. We keep it lifted. Right knee is stabilized over that heel. Press into that Pada Bandha, all 4 corners of the feet. Take your gaze out over those right fingertips. Then reach out slightly, bringing the right forearm down to the right thigh. Left arm reaches into side angle pose or extended side angle pose. And we feel a stretch from the outside of the left ankle with the arch lifted into the left fingertips. 1 more breath. As you exhale, pull yourself back up. Right palm faces the ceiling, and reverse this into our Sun Warrior, Reverse Warrior. As we move back and forth between these 2 poses, make sure there's no change in our Pada Bandha on each foot. So rather than allowing your body weight to shift from one foot to the other, we're keeping it balanced and stable as we move back and forth. With the breath, solidly rooted into our Pada Bandha. 1 more time, side angle pose. To Reverse Warrior. And back to Warrior 2. Maybe sink a little deeper into that front leg. And let's straighten out the front leg for Trikonasana Triangle. We'll reach out long, stretch and extend. This hip slightly lifts, and we reach the fingertips down to the shin or to a block. Check in with that Pada Bandha. Make sure you haven't rolled into the back arch. Equal pressure into the ball mount of the big toe, the baby toe, the right and left sides of both heels. 1 more breath. Exhale to soften that standing knee, rising back up to our warrior two. And then we'll pivot on the heels to the other side. Right foot rotates in, left foot rotates out until we find our warrior two. And let's make sure that this knee is balanced over the heel. Back arches lifted. Stretch out nice and long to come down into our side angle pose and extend and stretch. That right arch is lifted off the mat. Nice dynamic tension from the right fingertips through the right foot. And then rise up. We turn the palm up into our reverse warrior. Equally weighted into that Pada Bandha of both feet. And we move back and forth without shifting the weight forward or back, side to side on either foot. I want you to feel as if there's a magnet under the bottom of both feet that's being drawn solidly into the floor. Breathing, extending. And we're moving through the rib cage. The pelvis is stable. One more side angle pose. One more reverse warrior. Returning to warrior two, solid in that foot lock. Straighten out the left leg. Reach out through the fingertips. Let that right hip slightly shift as we move into Trikonasana Triangle pose. Our gaze can be down towards the big toe on the left foot. We can keep it neutral or rotate it up to the sky. One more breath. And as you exhale, rebend that knee, rising back to our warrior two. And straighten the front leg, pivot on the heel one more time. Both toes are forward and reach down to the mat into our wide leg stretch. Just check in with your feet. Make sure the arches are lifted on both sides, right and left. And then we'll walk the feet together, or we can jump them and come back up to our standing mountain pose. We move into a balanced pose triangle. So if you need a chair to hold on to or a wall, get yourself into that position. Our Pada Bandha connection is so important in our balanced poses. So let's stand on the right foot and root down into that foot. Pick up the toes, spread them apart, and set them down one toe at a time until we have our nice foot lock. Palms can be pressed together or hands at the hips as we turn our knee out on the left foot and float the bottom of the foot up to the inside of the shin or the inner thigh. The only place we want to stay away from is on the inside of the knee joint itself. Once you feel strong and solid into your foot lock, we'll reach the arms and stretch and extend up. If we fall out of that pose, just come back in slowly, and we root. Is your arch lifted away from the mat? And we feel all those intrinsic muscles working in that foot. 3 more breaths. Nice drishti. We have our focal point. 2 more breaths. On our last breath, press the palms back at heart center. And step that left foot back down to the mat. We'll root into the left side. Spread the toes, place them down back onto the mat one at a time. Rotate the right knee out. Find your balance and ground. That foot comes up wherever it lands. And this right knee is only rotated out the amount that we can keep our pelvis forward. When we have our balance, stretch up into the fingertips and breathe. Pada Bandha, foot lock. We're also aware of our abdominal lock, our root lock, the pelvic floor. Everything's strong and solid. 2 more breaths. The toe can come down to touch the mat. And on our last breath, the palms of the hands draw into heart center. And we come back to our mountain pose. Take a nice big deep breath in. Inhale, reach through the fingertips. Exhale, swan dive into forward bend. And soften. Let's step back to plank. So we'll turn sideways to give you that side view in our plank pose. And when we are in plank, we don't have that entire foot lock. We just have the ball of the foot pressing into the earth. And we'll rotate onto the left hand, and we come onto the side of the left foot and the right foot, into the blade of the foot. So we don't have our Pada Bandha, bottom of the foot, pressing into the earth. But imagine you're pressing your feet up against a solid surface. That bottom knee can also find the floor. 1 more breath. And exhale, the hand comes back down to the mat. We can drop the knees and press back to child's pose. So our side plank can also be done from the elbows, the forearms, as well as the wrist. And let's come back up to your high plank, tucking the toes under. Ball of the feet pressing into the mat. We'll rotate onto the opposite wrist, staggering our feet. We're on the side edges of the feet. Breathe and imagine you're pressing the bottoms of your feet right into a solid surface, our Pada Bandha. 1 more breath in. And exhale. Hands find the mat back into our plank. And the knees drop. Child's pose. And then rise up to a downward facing dog, tucking the toes. Lift the hips. And the balls of the feet are pressing into the mat. And the heels are seeking the mat, but probably not all the way down. So let's take a step forward just for today until you can find that foot lock into the heels. The feet are parallel, pressing equally into the ball mound of the big toe, the baby toe. The inside and outside of the heels, arches are lifted. We'll keep that right foot rooted and grounded as we lift up the left. And then let's rotate the hips to stack the left hip on top of the right. Bend that left knee. Foot is flexed and we press into the Pada Bandha on the standing leg as well as the free leg. Imagining we're pushing our foot into a solid object. We re-square our shoulders and stretch open through the hip. 1 more breath. And then lengthen that leg back up, re-square the hips, and lower that left foot back down to the mat. Pada Bandha, breathe. Then root and ground into that left foot. The right leg rises up. You rotate to stack the hips. Bend that right knee, flex the foot, and push into the Pada Bandha on both feet. Re-square off the shoulders. 2 more breaths. And then extend that leg back out. Square the hips off once again. Lowering the right foot back down. Drop the knees to the mat. Rest back into your child's pose. And the arms can come next to the sides of the body to relax the shoulders. And then we'll rise up, coming to a seated position. If you have a yoga strap, it would be wonderful for our stretch here. So we'll take the right knee, bend it in toward us, extend that left leg out, and take your yoga strap, place it under the bottom of the left foot. So we're going to create the Pada Bandha with this strap by pulling with the arm to flex the foot and slightly pressing the foot into your yoga strap to create that grounding and that connection. Inhale to lengthen, exhale to stretch forward, our hamstring stretch. And then inhale, back up. Keep hold of the strap in the same side hand. Keep that connection in your Pada Bandha. Reach the arm up and side stretch. Inhale, rising back up. Release the strap. We'll switch feet, bending the left knee in, the right leg extends out. We have a connection with the bottom of the foot to the inner thigh. So the strap goes under the ball mound of the big toe and the pinky toe. We pull back with the strap, but press in with the bottom of the foot. We feel the arch lifting. Take a nice deep breath in. And exhale, stretch. If you have the flexibility to do this without the strap, you can also reach the hands underneath the bottom of the foot, pulling back and pressing in. Create that connection, the foot lock. And then we'll rise up, keeping the strap into the same side hand, create that connection, and take a side bend. And inhale, rise, release the strap. We'll come to Badakonasana, so the soles of the feet are pressing into one another. If you need to sit up on a blanket, sometimes that feels nice to lift the hips a little. And I want you to notice how the feet are connecting. Soles of the feet touching. And then press each toe together, the small toe, the second, third, fourth, and the big toe, and give them a little connection there. Press equally into the ball mound of the first toe, that big toe, and the pinky toe, and we're pressing in towards one another, as well as the inside and outside of both heels. But your arches are lifted, so you can see this Pada Bandha visually. As we look down into the lifted arch, it's creating a little crevice or a little bowl. And then we'll inhale here, lengthen. You can cradle your feet into your hands. Give them a little love as we fold forward. Feeling a little stretch through the inner thighs and the lower back. One more breath in. Exhale and lengthen back up. Close those knees together and we'll come onto our backs for a bridge pose focusing on Pada Bandha. So feet are hips distance apart as we roll down onto our back. The feet are parallel and we press into the Pada Bandha, all four corners of the feet. Begin to tuck the pelvis under and roll up into your bridge and hold at the top. Now if you want, we can interlace the hands together here behind the hips and rock a little bit from side to side. to come up high onto the triceps. Both hips are lifted. We can even walk the feet in a little closer towards the glutes if you'd like. But just notice your Pada Bandha. Pressing evenly, you can lift the toes up and set them back one at a time onto the mat. Squeeze the mat a little bit with your toes and then let that go. Press into the ball mound of the big toes, the baby toes, the inside and outside of the heel. One more breath. And then release the hands from behind your back, separate your shoulder blades, and roll down one vertebra at a time. Shift your pelvis back to neutral, and then we'll come into Supta Badakonasana. Just as we did seated, we'll press the soles of the feet together, allow the knees to open, and press the bottoms of each toe towards one another. See if you can feel them touching. The balls of the feet are in connection. The heels are in connection, but the arches are lifted. And we breathe. We're noticing that foot lock and the importance of rooting into the earth. But in this place and in this foot lock, pressing your feet towards one another, you're creating your own grounding, your own rooting, not relying upon the earth for that connection. Take 3 more breaths here in our Badakonasana. And as you exhale that 3rd breath, slowly close the knees together. Pull the knees up into your chest. Send your legs up to legs up the wall. You can see your feet one more time. Flex and point. Then pull the knees in toward you. You can either roll over to your side or roll yourself right up to seated. And we sit tall. So as we learn to properly root into the ground and we learn about that Pada Bandha, we take it in our life into our daily living, into the functions of daily life. It helps us to find our balance as we are walking out onto a snowy, icy road or a slippery surface. Or we're water skiing and trying to find our balance on a ski. So many things in life that our Pada Bandha is appropriate for. So we'll take a breath today together. Inhale, reach up, press the palms. Exhale with gratitude into our Anjali Mudra. Thank you for joining me today. I'm honored to teach you the Pada Bandha. Namaste.